Sensational. Genius. That's what he is.
Hello and welcome to a brand new series of the Ronnie O'Sullivan Show. Today we're in Sheffield as the World Championships is upon us, the greatest snooker show on earth.
Coming up in today's show, Ronnie heads to the Crucible to chat to Dennis Taylor about the most famous snooker match of all time.
Why did I do that? It must have been to say I'm either going to win you with this shot or lose you.
We'll round up all the news from this year's qualifiers. Plus, we'll hear from the man himself about his chances at Sheffield this year.
The first World Snooker Championships were held 88 years ago, but since 1977 it's been held at the Crucible Theatre. Over the years, this place has played host to some of the most amazing moments in snooker, but for me and many others, still the greatest of them all has to be the 1985 final, when it came down to the final ball in the final frame. Come down here today to meet the man himself, Dennis Taylor. Well, Dennis, 30 years.
Nice to see you.
Since the day.
Be in the Crucible, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Dennis, it's been 30 years since that memorable night in 1985 when you played Steve Davis. Here we are sitting up at the top here looking down at the Crucible. How does it feel being sat here rather than sat down there?
I can't believe it's 30 years, Ronnie. What were you, nine at the time?
I was around about 9 or 10, yeah.
Unbelievable. You were still making maximum breaks then, weren't you? That was the age I started playing, incidentally. But no, to be back here, OK, I've been here every year since 1977, either playing or commentating. And cannot believe it's 30 years since Steve and myself played that final. And we never dreamt that people would still be talking about it. People wind me up saying that I'm always talking about it, but there's people that want to talk to me about it, and I've never been fed up chatting about it.
So what was going through your mind 8-0 down? You're like, you know, first to 18, you're playing, obviously, the most dominant player there is on the circuit. What was going through your mind at that stage?
Well, as I say, I lost all 7 frames. We used to play 7 in the first session. I lost the first in the evening. And the thing I was always thinking was, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just sitting in the seat. He's not making many mistakes. So I thought, well, just try and get 1 frame on the board. And the first frame that I got, really, if we had been level in score, Steve probably wouldn't have taken the green on, because he remembers that shot. It stands out. It wobbled, and I potted the green to pink. And I remember raising my finger and saying, at least I've got 1 frame. But then, because I'd been playing so well, suddenly it kicked into gear. To be only 9-7 behind after that first day, well, I felt like I'd sort of won the World Championship from 8-0 down to be just 2 behind.
So you're 9-7 down, coming into the final day, Bank Holiday Monday, everyone knows, for the last day of the World Championships. You've obviously come back. You're feeling good, yeah? You feeling good?
I'm feeling fantastic. In fact, you just made a little mistake that Steve made as well, and everybody makes, because it was a Sunday. It wasn't a bank holiday Monday.
Okay.
Back then in ’85, it used to finish on a Sunday night.
That's why they brought the bank holiday in, because of that famous match, Dennis. You never know.
And I was so looking forward then, although I didn't get much sleep, and Steve never got much sleep. I mean, I was on such a high after being so far behind, so I didn't sleep much. But as you know, when you get out there, sleep doesn't matter. The adrenaline keeps you going. So I just wanted to get out there and get started, but I could never get in front of him.
What's going through your mind at 17-all? You've obviously had your back against the wall the whole time. By rights, you should be out of the game, but you're sitting here 17-all. You don't really get many opportunities to win. You know, we're privileged to have won this title, you know, people that have won it. What was going through your mind at 17-all?
It's hard to describe, and it's down to 1 frame after 17 days, and you know, it turns out, you know, people say that's the greatest frame of snooker ever seen. If it had been the first frame of the match, it would have been the worst frame of snooker ever seen, because In that last frame, we were both missing putts that you wouldn't normally miss. Our safety game was excellent. There was an awful lot of safety went on in that last frame, which lasted 68 minutes, wasn't it? Yeah. So it was just a matter of hanging in, hoping you get a chance, and it looked like Steve wasn't going to dish up with one chance, because I could tell by his face, as he could tell by my face, because when I'm under pressure, and you've probably seen it a few times yourself, I get pink, and then I get red, and then I get slightly redder. The nugget, Steve, gets white, and then whiter, and you know, so you got the complete contrast. He was going white, I was getting redder, and it just captured the imagination. And to finish up with 18.5 million watching, you know, if we hadn't known there was that many watching, I don't think we'd been able to lift the queue.
That brings me back to the last frame, because obviously it came down to, I think, obviously Steve potted the last red, didn't get on the pink. Was left with a brown, which I know you said was probably one of the best pressure balls you've ever potted.
Yeah,
long brown.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't...
Half a pocket.
Yeah, I couldn't see a safety shot. It was down near the baulk line, and I thought, well, rather than try a safety shot after working so hard, I had it in my mind at that time, rather than try a safety shot, mess it up and Steve goes in and wins. I mean, what a way to lose. So I thought, have a go. If you miss it, you know you've gone out fighting. And when the brown went in, I was more than delighted. But the blue I had was a funny little blue,
tricky blue
across the cushion, and I hit it. Well, I potted it, but I remember trying to nudge the white off the cushion, because I'm not good on the cushion, and it was clear the cushion, and then the pink. I knew if I potted the pink, I was leaving a double on the black. I mean, I had my mind made up then I was going to have a go at the double on the black.
Did you not think of the in-off with the white in the middle?
Never,
coming around 1, 2, 3,
never even dreamt of that. In fact, that's the first time anyone's mentioned that, so it would only be you that would have spotted that one. I just decided that, I don't know why to this day, after I potted the pink, I went and kissed the little lady on the top of the lid of the trophy. Why did I do that? It must have been to say, I'm either going to win you with this shot or lose you. Took the double on, and all the people, I mean, it's so intimate here in the Crucible, and they're all in line with the middle pocket, so they started cheering. So I thought I'd won the World Championship, and I missed the pocket by a fraction. But luckily, it went safe on the top cushion.
Do you feel destiny was there with that night?
At that stage it was, because throughout that final, Ronnie, believe it or not, I was chatting the whole way through that final to my mum. There was two fellas behind me I was chatting to, but I was chatting to my dear old mum, who died suddenly at 62 during the, just before the Grand Prix, which I wasn't going to play in, and I did go and play in that and played the best snooker in my career. So she arrived at the Crucible with me as well, because when I was under pressure, I had somebody to chat to, and when I did miss the double, and then Steve did mess up and double kissed it, I thought, well, this is the chance. Now, try and keep your head still. And we shot down past the blue spot, the green spot. Just try and keep your head still. Push the cue in and out 4 or 5 times, through in a straight line. The camera went behind my shoulder. What a biggest twitch ever seen at the Crucible.
Understandable, though. I mean, we're talking the final frame, final ball, World Championships. I mean, the nerves must have been unbelievable. And I know the blacks obviously come around the table, and a lot of people looking at the black, they think, no, it's a bit of a gimme, but actually into a blind pocket, 17 all, I don't really want to be playing that type of shot. And you're standing right behind it. So what was going through your mind? You see Davis get up, he's got a black, by rights, people think he should pot because it was near the hole. You're standing behind it. What are you thinking?
Well, when I missed the black, because I missed it by so much, it nearly come into the pocket.
You look
so
like
I'm looking down, I thought, I might fluke it. And when I didn't, I walked back. But then when I turned around, it wasn't as close to the pocket as I thought it was going to finish. Still expected him to pot it. 970 people here thought he was going to pot it. 18.5 million at home thought he was going to pot it. But Steve, you know, never spoke about it for years. But he's great when he talks about it. He said as he got up to pot that black, I don't know if you've spoken to Steve about it. He said his legs, he didn't feel like his legs. And he walked across the floor there. He said his arms felt like somebody else's. And he's got down, as you said, back into a blind pocket. You hit them thick under pressure. His brain saying, don't hit it thick, don't hit it thick. And he didn't. He hit it too thin, he overcompensated. And I mean, he knew that I wasn't going to miss the black because it was easier than the one that he missed.
But even still, I know any ball's missable, but under that type of pressure, that black for you to pot it, did you think, oh, don't twitch, don't do this, or was you like, no, this is going in, I'm not missing this, this is it?
Well, I've done the twitching on the previous shot, so, and somehow that white, you know, fate again, how that white, from that angle, I've often tried to set it up, how the white went round the table so far. If it had stopped at the blue spot, me with the rest,
impossible.
Forget about it. You know what I was like with the rest. I mean, it's a good job there was no stats back then. It'd be 1 out of 100, and it kept on going. But you know that final black, Ronnie, I never gripped the cue. You know, you've got all different grips and that, but all I did, I kept my thumb out of the way, and the cue, the butt was just on the 4 fingers, and I took ages on that shot. When they show that shot, it looks like it's on freeze frame. I took that long, and really, so that I wouldn't snatch or jerk at it, I just let go of the cue, and that lovely little black disappeared into the corner pocket.
Fantastic. Dennis, it's been great speaking to you.
Listen, you're doing a great job. Love the show, by the way.
But before we go, we've got to do the final black.
Oh, you're going to
I have to do the final black. Can I be you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be good, because I would miss it.
Yeah. Right, we're going to do it. Let's do it.
Stay tuned, as after the break, we'll see if the Rocket can rewrite history. This year, the Crucible Theatre will stage its 39th World Final, with Ronnie O'Sullivan looking to win a 6th title. Back in 1985, a young Rocket was supporting Steve Davis against Dennis Taylor. 30 years on, we gave Ronnie the chance to play Dennis in a recreation of the famous black ball finish.
Dennis, this is the black that you left Steve here. To me, this looks like quite potable to me here.
I think everybody thought he was going to pot it.
We haven't got like 18.5 million people and final found World Championships, but you know, listen, this is, I've got to have a go at this.
I think you should.
I can't miss that.
You've never tried this shot?
Never tried it.
It's near enough. I think that's near enough, because this is what we were talking about. Steve, when he came, he was thinking, don't hit it thick. Don't hit it thick, which you do under pressure.
Yeah.
And he hit it too thin.
Probably would have been better off hitting it thick, though.
Well, let's see if you'll lock it in, no problem, I'm sure.
Can't miss that, can you?
Yeah,
Hey?
No.
Got it with my eyes shut then.
Yeah, now play with your right hand, don't be playing with your left hand.
Oh, yeah, with left hand, yeah. Here we go. Oh, look, straight in, can't miss it. Oh,
look at that. Now, look at the white.
Put back in off.
Never thought about that. If he had a potted. Now, what if he had a potted it
and
like
gone
you
in
did
off?
and went in off?
He'd have committed suicide.
Now, let's see if you can hit it too thin.
Right, I'm going to see if I can do. I'm going to see if I can do a Davis now.
But this is what I was saying. If the white, how the white didn't finish around the blue spot, because the black. Let's see, the black somewhere around there, and somehow the white kept on going.
Is this it? I mean, because obviously you should know. I mean, like.
That's just it. Yeah.
It looked a bit thinner than that to me. Yeah, yeah. Was it like that?
I think it was something like that. So that was a lot easier than the one that he missed.
Oh yeah.
Because and as I say, I didn't. You know, normally the way you hold the cue, I just kept the thumb out of the way.
You kept it nice and light. Just thought, get the cue through. Don't stab it.
No, I've got the wrong glasses on here, so I took ages, and then I just let go. And then I was stamping the cue and then wagging the fingers.
Brilliant moment.
Still doing it 30 years on, and I hope we can go for another few years yet.
Brilliant, fantastic. Loved it. I hope I don't have to go for a black 17 or final fame. Don't think I could handle it.
Cheers again, Ronnie.
Dennis, thanks. Thank you.
With the top 16 already qualified for this year's World Championships, 128 players battled it out for the final 16 spots. 10-time Ladies World Champion Rhiannon Evans was given a wild card into round 1, and although she narrowly lost out to 1997 World Champion Ken Doherty, her inclusion has been a welcome addition.
I think there's been a lot more media over this year because snooker as a sport is bigger, and obviously the stories around the sport become bigger, and the idea of a woman challenging a man, which is not so new, but in an open sport like snooker where everyone plays off the same surface, if you like, it's created a lot of media interest, and I welcome it. I think Rhiannon Evans is an excellent player. I don't look on Rhiannon Evans as a woman or a man. I look on her as a player, and on that basis, she certainly justified her wild card inclusion for the World Championships, and I hope very much that she goes on from there to gain her tour card in the normal, proper way, and I think she has the ability to do that.
I think she's done fantastic for the ladies' game, winning 10 world titles, and I think she thoroughly deserved a wild card in the World Championships, and she proved why she deserved it. I mean, taking Ken Doherty to 10-8, nearly going to deciding frame, so I think it's fantastic for snooker to be playing in the men's game.
After 8 tough days of competition, the following 16 players made it through to the final stages of the Crucible to join the likes of John Higgins, Shaun Murphy, Judd Trump, Neil Robertson and defending champion Mark Selby, looking to repeat his famous feat of 12 months ago when he beat O'Sullivan in the final.
To beat Ronnie in the final, I think if I could predict that I was going to win the World Championships and who I'd play in the final, I'd want to play Ronnie in the final and win, because there's quite a lot of critics out there where if you didn't play Ronnie along the way or didn't beat Ronnie in the final, they'll turn around and say, well, yeah, hands up, he's done well to win the world title, but he never played the best. He never played Ronnie, or he never played Higgins or Hendry and such, but to beat him in the final makes it even more sweeter.
But Selby is well aware of the famous Crucible curse, with no first-time champion ever able to successfully defend the title the following year.
It wouldn't play on my mind to the point where it affects me. It would definitely be in the back of my mind knowing that nobody's won it and defended it, having won it for the first time. So, if anything, that will probably inspire me to go on and try harder to try and sort of break that duck as such.
Coming up after the break, we'll hear from the 5-time world champion about his preparations for this year's championships. ...2015 will see Ronnie O'Sullivan make his 23rd appearance at the Crucible. Since 1993, the Rocket has won 5 titles, reached 5 other semi-finals, and last year finished runner-up for the first time. He's also made 3 maximums in Sheffield, and this year will look to equal Steve Davis and Ray Reardon on the all-time winners list. Andy Goldstein caught up with Ronnie ahead of this year's World Championships.
Let's look back at the season so far. UK Championship you won, of course. Champions you won. Recently got beat in the final of the World Grand Prix. When you look back at the season so far, is it a good run? Has it been a successful season?
I think I've had a great season, you know. Chengdu was OK. One of my first major tournaments this season. I made it to the quarterfinals there, and that kind of teed me up for the Champions Cup, which I won. Probably played some of my best snooker I've ever played in the final against Judd and Ding in the semis. So after that result, I was flying, you know, and going into the UK Championships, I really fancied I was going to win it, and then I go and break my foot 2 days before I play, and I was so disappointed and so angry with myself, you know, because, you know, I felt like, you know, someone would have had to play like really good stuff to beat me, and I still managed to win it. But I think that tournament took a lot more out of me than I could have possibly imagined in many ways, you know. I kind of bit of a delayed reaction, so for a month I felt a little flat after that. But I feel fresh enough now, you know. I went to Germany and I had a stinker at the Masters, but you know, I tried to grind it out and got to the semis, and then I played some of my best snooker in Germany.
And how is the foot now?
Foot's great.
Is it all healed? Because I saw you at the Masters. You'd said on air that you weren't going to run it again because you realised how dangerous it could be to your snooker career, and that's going to take a back seat. Then fast forward a couple of months and you're running during a tournament.
Yeah, I know, because I do realise that running's given me so much, you know. It helps me kind of release endorphins, it stops me from wanting to smoke cigarettes. I've got a lot of bad vices, you see, so running kind of, by going for a run, it stops me from doing a lot of the things that I know that I'd probably do if I didn't run. So I've not fully gone into running like I did, and the beauty of when I did broke my foot, it forced me to look for alternative ways to keep fit. See, I like to keep fit. And so I went to the gym, started going on a cross trainer, got into a bit of sparring, started to do a bit of boxing, realised that I actually enjoyed that more than the running. But I realised that I still needed to do the run to get out in the fresh air over the woods. So I don't run anywhere near as much or as hard as I used to, but I'm enjoying it a lot more. So I'm probably fitter than I was even before because of that, because I'm doing other sports as well, and it's just good fun.
You know, if you're going to turn your hand to boxing now, it's more difficult to make a maximum with a broken hand than with a broken foot. It's going to happen, isn't it? You won the UK Championships as a 17-year-old, becoming the youngest winner ever of a ranking event, but it took you, I think, 9 years before you won the World Championship.
Yeah.
Was there ever a period in those 9 years where you thought perhaps you should have won it that year?
If I wouldn't have got maybe caught up in some of the little bad habits that I got into, which was I was partying, I was going out drinking a lot, and you know, my mum was put away in prison and my dad was away, and I just kind of lost my way from 19 to 25, really. I just kind of lost the plot, if you like. So I didn't win the world title, I think, because I just wasn't in the right frame of mind to win it. So sitting here now, I think I've done well just to kind of still be playing and still be fit and healthy and having won. So it happened when it was supposed to happen, really. I was ready to win the world title when I was 25 because I was living the life of a snooker player as a professional. You know, I was quite focused, you know, nothing got in the way of me wanting to achieve what I wanted to achieve.
If you could go back now and see the young Ronnie, would you give him any advice, or would you say just carry on doing what you're doing?
No, I would. I'd definitely do things differently. I'd do things differently, you know, but like I say, hindsight...
No, I know that, but what would you have done? What are the major things you'd have done? Would you have been more decorated now as a snooker player, do you think?
Possibly. Maybe not by much, I don't know, but I probably would have been a much more stable human, if you like, you know. I think them 5-6 years kind of left a little bit of damage, if you like, you know, and I've kind of worked on that over the last 3 or 4 years with Steve Peters and kind of got much more of a handle on, you know, how to deal with emotions and how to deal with the highs and lows of life. Whereas maybe when I was going through that period, I kind of I wasn't used to losing, I wasn't used to being out of control. When I was a junior and as a top amateur, I was totally in control. I knew I was going to win, I knew I was the best player, best junior, the best amateur. I had massive confidence in myself. Whereas when I turned pro and I lost my way, I kind of lost a lot of confidence and a lot of self-doubt creeped in. I started to question myself, and that was kind of hard to live with. It made me feel insecure and vulnerable, and it took me a while before I came out of that, but I did turn it around just through perseverance, really. You had
a chance to make it 6. You had Mark Selby in the final last year. Your relationship with Mark on the table is one that snooker fans absolutely adore because it usually produces scintillating snooker for various different reasons. When you were going into that final, did you fancy it, or did you think this is going to be a long few days? No, I fancied it. You know, I always fancy every match I go into play. I always think, you know, I've got a chance. You know, even if I'm not playing well, I've got a chance. If I play well, I've got a great chance. They're going to have to play really, really good to beat me. And in some ways, the mistake with playing Selby is that you go ahead. I think sometimes you're better off just keeping it close. So, you know, Mark got the better of me in last year's final, and I think at 10-7 up after the first day, I felt like I was maybe 10-4 down, whereas Mark probably felt in his mind that he was ahead in the match, you know, because I don't think he played great in the first day, and I didn't play fantastic, but I certainly should have been a lot more than 3 frames ahead, and I think that kind of knocked the wind out of my sails. Was there a particular shot? I remember the pink you missed, I think it was in the afternoon session, in the middle pocket, where 99 times out of 100 you'd potted that, and you missed it. That was a bad miss, but I think the damage was well done before that. I think the damage was done at maybe 10-5, and I was in, and I missed the black off the spot. Yeah. And then Mark won the last 2 frames to go 10-7, and I think I went back to my room and I just thought, you know, I was devastated, really, you know, and it was hard for me to get going again the next day because I knew that he was just you'd have to scrape him off the table, and I didn't really want it that bad, to be honest with you. I'd have liked to have won, but I wasn't prepared to kill myself. And I think if you want to kind of win the major tournaments, you've got to be prepared to hurt. And like I said, you know, maybe I've just kind of got settled on my career and what I've won, and I just want to have fun out there. And would I want to go through that again? Certainly not. 2 days playing Mark Selby in the final World Championships is a tough thing. Does it matter to you that some people might not see you as the greatest ever until you either equal or beat Stevens 7?
No, not really, because I know that now you've got YouTube, people will be watching back in 100, 200 years, and yeah, they're going to watch Davis, they're going to watch Hendry, but they're also going to say, you've got to watch this guy, Jimmy White. Oh yeah, but there's this other guy, Ronnie O'Sullivan, who played a little bit like Jimmy White, but he won 5 world titles as well. So I kind of think that, you know, the way I played the game has kind of been a joy for the fans to watch. I've got pleasure out of the way I've played because I've played an aggressive attacking style. Hendry's very attacking and very aggressive, but people would kind of see him as the Iceman, whereas me, I think a lot of people go, you don't know what he's going to do next. So, you know, that's the way I play the game. You know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. And so for me, you know, I've kind of got my own little niche in snooker. Maybe not been the most successful in tournament-wise. You know, obviously Hendry's got 7, Davis has got 6, but 5. No one's going to say that you didn't know what you was doing.
And when you look back at the 5, which one gives you the most satisfaction? Which one do you think?
The 4th. Obviously the 1st is great, but the 4th really was... I choked. Not many people know that, but as I was clearing up there, I was choking inside, you know. I was having to really fight back the emotion of kind of just letting it all out. And I think 2012 was just the best moment of my life because I had my little boy there. It was just me and him in that. It just felt like me and him in that venue. I know there was 900 people in the Crucible, and I know there was probably many millions watching at home. But for me, it just felt like it was just me and him, and that was our little moment. And I'll cherish that moment for the rest of my life. So for me, that was the best moment I've ever had, apart from when they were both born, obviously. But that was just like the best moment ever.
That's it for now, but stay tuned to Eurosport for all the action live from the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield. We'll be back in the summer, so until then, bye for now.